At this point, I think it's nice to have an interim conclusion to contrast two views about action that we've had. The views are united in focusing on the question, what is the mark that distinguishes your actions from things which merely happen to you? Davidson's view, the standard story, sometimes called the causal theory, can be put in 3 words. It is intention. Those events which are appropriately caused by your intentions are your actions. Other events in your life are things that merely happen to you. What recommends this view to us is its simplicity and the fact that it's intelligible, makes sense of the notion of action, or seems to. But it faces an interesting objection, the objection from spiders, as I call it. That's not what Frankfurt calls it, that's my name for it. This objection is the one I was just discussing in the previous section. Now, the reason I'm focusing on Frankfurt is actually not just that he offers us this objection, although, as I say, I think this objection does have plenty of legs. I think that Frankfurt's positive view is also interesting because it provides such a good contrast, apparently, with the standard story, Davidson's view. You see, if you read on in Frankfurt, you'll find that he thinks that we should distinguish actions from events that merely happen to you by saying that action is behaviour whose course is under the guidance of an agent. So Frankfurt thinks it's not really intention, it's guidance that we should be focusing on to understand action. And this is a big division in philosophy of action. Philosophers who focus on the mental states like intention, which cause the actions, or some other notion, guidance, some process which unfolds. That distinction's been quite interesting, I suppose, over the years, and so it's nice to get a handle on it now. But before we embrace Frankfurt's view, we ought to realise that there are 2 problems that Frankfurt doesn't solve in that very short 6-page paper he leaves open. And these are problems that philosophers continue to work quite hard on without, I think, having a definitive answer. The first problem is to understand what guidance is. What does Frankfurt mean by guidance? What could guidance be? What kind of guidance is involved in action? And there would be a danger here, of course, of collapsing. So we can't explain guidance by appeal to the idea that action is controlled by intention, because then we'd run right back into the argument from spiders. We'd run right back into that objection. So Frankfurt, in introducing guidance, needs to explain that in a way that doesn't make him vulnerable to his own objections. Or you need to explain it that way as well. The second problem is harder to understand. It's hard to see that there's really a problem here. The problem is to understand when guidance is attributable to an agent. Why is that a problem? Well, think about this. As you walk across a cattle grid, have you ever walked across a cattle grid? I hope so. If you walk across a cattle grid, your action's being guided, but most of the guidance is actually coming from the grid itself, from that structure. Right? People are very bad at doing this. So most of the time you're wobbling around and nearly all of the guidance is provided by the grid itself. So in this case, there is guidance, but the guidance is not attributable to you, as Frankfurt would say. It's not guidance by the agent. Let me give you another example. What is the other example? Oh, that's right. Sorry. The other example is this. You're quite right. The other example is if I strap you to an exercise bike. So suppose that I've got a motorised exercise bike. I might strap you into that motorised exercise bike, put your sort of little feet in and tie them on and so on, and then turn the engine of the motorbike, the exercise bike on. And now your feet go whizzing round in a very highly coordinated way. So your movement's being guided, but again, the guidance isn't attributable to you. So here's a problem for Frankfurt. How do we distinguish between guidance and guidance that's attributable to you? Without, of course, pushing us right back to face the objection that was supposed to motivate accepting Frankfurt's view over the standard story. We've got to explain what it is for guidance to come from the agent without appealing to things that aren't available in the case of spiders, where the distinction is supposed to hold. I love this. This is fabulous, because here we've got 2 opposing views. I think we've got considerations or problems that arise if we try to develop and accept either view, and it's entirely unclear how we should proceed. The reason I love my job is that it's not my job to sort this out. My job is to point you in the direction of the problem, sit back and wait for the brilliant insights and confusions often to follow, and try all of us collectively to get clearer about what the various options are and what recommends one option over another. Over to you.